So strategy number 9, rapport in business. Has there been a deal that you haven't been able to close before? You've met somebody and for the life of you, you could just not get rapport. You had that? Because the only way that you're going to achieve your goals in life is if you can have rapport with a lot of different people. But we've got 4 seconds to make a good first impression. If I'm walking through that door and I come and speak to you here, where was my first impression made? There. By the time I get to here, that 30 seconds, you've already justified your first impression of me. So the reality is in business is that we have 4 seconds to make a great first impression. And we have to know how to do that because they're constantly watching. But did you notice something magical before when we were in peripheral vision? Did you realize that you were looking forward, but you could still see what was happening out here? Just by being yourself in business, by being you, can cause you to lose business. Who's the most important person in the business relationship? The client. It could be a small body movement that we make on the way in. It could be a tone of voice. It could be one particular word that we use out of place that could blow the business. But when you master that, you can have all the business that you want. So there's 4 steps to learning rapport. First of all, there's a time in our life where we just don't know what rapport is. We have no idea of it. It's out of our awareness. And then we start to grow up and we start to realize that we don't know how to build rapport. Then we come along to the business breakthrough, and I'm going to show you how to gain rapport today, how to use rapport, and then in the weeks ahead, you'll start doing it automatically and you won't even have to think about it. So there's 4 stages. I think most of you are probably at stage 2 and 3 right now. There might be some people at 4, but there's always room for improvement. So we're going to give you some new skills today. Rapport is good for negotiations. When you have negotiations and you have rapport, you'll get a more favourable outcome. You'll be able to increase resales and referrals. If you have team members, team dropout and retention increases. So team dropout decreases, retention increases, and you make a lot more money. Turnover is incredibly expensive in business. It's huge, with your customers or with your team. Rapport occurs when people's communication style matches and they're on the same wavelength. You met somebody on your wavelength? It's like seeing an old friend. How you doing? Straight into it. The science of rapport. There is a strong relationship between successful people and their ability to develop rapport instantly. Have you met that person? Straight away. You're straight into a great conversation. That's what your aim in business is. If they meet you and feel comfortable, you're on the same wavelength, you'll get more of what you want. Now, rapport is not an inborn attribute. It is something that is learned. We learn it. Now, raising self-esteem. When you go through life raising the self-esteem of others, opportunities will open up for you and people will help you in a way you cannot now imagine. So every time you build rapport with somebody, you actually increase their level of self-esteem. Self-esteem and self-worth increases. When you go around the world making people feel good about themselves, they will bend over backwards. They will open doors and introduce you to people that you could never get to by yourself. And that's what we use rapport for. Now, communication is 100% in your control. Matt, can you open the door? Matt, can you open? I made the mistake again, sorry. 55% is your physiology. He knows I'm speaking to him, but what's more important? It's where I'm looking and what I'm pointing at. It's 55% of my communication. 38% of communication is your tonality. Whose wife Or mother says, don't speak to me in that tone of voice. The reality is women are more tonal than men. So we have to be very mindful of our tone of voice. And then 7% of communication is your words. Imagine that. We're talking all day, every day. We're typing, but words are only 7% of communication and only 7% of rapport. But we spend so much time on the words, where in fact, Matt, can you open the door? He still doesn't do it after all this training. So there's indicators of rapport. When we build rapport, first of all, we have an internal feeling. Some people describe it as having butterflies in your stomach. It's like a bubbling up. Within about 60 seconds of gaining rapport, you'll see a colour shift in the other person. It'll be a very minute one. It could be a very obvious one. The third thing is they say something. Do you do CrossFit?
Sometimes.
Do you do CrossFit? And do you follow the footy? All of a sudden you look for commonalities. And then we start to lead and follow. Have you ever been out at a function, a networking event, and you're getting rapport with somebody, and when you stand up, they stand up, and then you walk over to meet somebody else and they're like a little tail and they follow you? When we get rapport, we don't want to break it. So let's see how we can gain it. First of all, we have unconscious rapport. This is our posture. This is our gestures. This is the proximity to which we stand at people. You've had those people on the aircraft before? The way we shake hands. You had these ones? Hey, bro. Also, our facial expressions. Our blinking. We can use our blink rate and our smiles to build rapport. If you smile at the world smiles back at you. Our breathing. You've seen Lyndall's breathing before. You can also use your breathing to build unconscious rapport. You're not watching people's breathing consciously, but unconsciously we're still getting all that information. It can make or break the sale. We have our voice quality, our predicates, the words we use, and also key words. CrossFitters, what's the WOD of the day? What's the WOD, Buzz? What's the WOD?
The business breakthrough.
The business breakthrough. Do you know what a WOD is? Have you had that before? People outside of your industry start using industry jargon and you're totally confused and you feel stupid because you don't want to ask that, what's WOD?